And as we started talking about it, everything we did was at the treatment plant or a pipe underground or something that people wouldn't know or see. So what I thought is we need to really personalize water. We need to make water more than something that you just turn the faucet on, take a glass of water, drink it, or use it to flush something down the toilet. We need to make water personal. We need people to understand that that drop of water that falls on their property goes somewhere, whether it goes into the plants on their property or whether it runs into a sewer system, storm, or sanitary. We need to figure out how they can be more in touch with the water on their property. So we started a huge effort for green infrastructure. I wish I had $50 million for green infrastructure. You know, Louisville's going to be is and going to be even more so a leader on green infrastructure with some of that investment, because all this gets down to money. But we really started it on our own, on a shoestring budget, and right now we've got people purchasing rain garden plants every year, building their own rain gardens. We get the plants for half price from a local nursery, so that foundation, a foundation provides the plants to us half off, and people are starting to build rain gardens in their own property. Green roofs, we've got about 7 or 8 acres of green roofs. We've just approved yesterday at my commission meeting another $724,000 of green roofs that we're building. These have other benefits, and that's how you start talking about these things. You personalize it, but then you say, okay, we're going to spend $1 to stop stormwater runoff. What's the impact on your energy bill for a green roof by reducing electricity for air conditioning in the summer? What's the benefit from the aesthetics of what we're doing with rain gardens? And you start bringing people together, because all of a sudden, you know, they start remembering what they have seen in the past. And one thing I keep reminding people of is the hydrologic cycle. Everyone in grade school learned about the hydrologic cycle. It's probably the one, well, I'm a civil engineer in water, so the one thing I remember the most is the hydrologic cycle. You connect them to that hydrologic cycle, and they start understanding it better. And green infrastructure, I think, is a huge way to do that. Rain barrels. I used to get laughed at different national conferences with the rain barrel program. We started this in 2000, 2001, and it really was just an effort to try to get people to understand how to manage water. Each barrel holds 55 gallons of water. In the combined sewer area, the downspout from the roof of a house is connected directly to the combined sanitary sewer. People didn't understand where that pipe went. So we start talking about cutting the pipe off, storing the water in a rain barrel, using it for other uses. That takes 55 gallons out of my system just from one storm. Start multiplying that out, and it really helps quite a bit. Green seams. This is probably one of the premier non-structural approaches that Milwaukee has been able to spearhead across the country. We've partnered with the Conservation Fund. We have purchased property. It's actually around 2,300 acres now. We put an easement on it. We turn it over to a local municipality. We turn it over to a land trust, and they start building trails on it. The only thing we require is there's no toilet or pipe placed on it, and they can't cover it with impervious area. So we're starting to see the benefits of a green buffer system coming along the waterway to help us with flood management and with sanitary or non-point pollution. Flood management. So we always did good at tunnels. We started doing better at green infrastructure and getting people in tune to it, and then bam, a storm hits. June 2008, Thiensville, Mequon. A lot of the area in Milwaukee was looking very similar to this. 2009, June, bam, another storm. July 2010, last July 15th, we had a 100-year storm. July 22nd, we had a 500-year storm, 7 days apart. Water was saturated, systems were full, and we got another storm on top of it. So, as I said at the beginning, I'm a believer in climate change. I have to deal with it, and if you've ever been at a public meeting when people have had their basements backed up twice in a week, it's no fun. Dave was my salvation. I had several meetings where people would stand up and boo me, And then Dave would be there at the end of the meeting with his card and say, okay, you call me, because I'll fix this for you. So it's amazing how some of these things can impact you. So we started with Lincoln Creek. This project was actually started prior to me coming to the district, but when we started, it was a 7.5 mile long planning design project, and we hadn't implemented anything. My boss was telling me, get these projects implemented. So to start that process, to get that one piece that we could get going on, we divided it up into different reaches, 10 reaches, and we started at the upstream end and started working downstream. People started seeing the success, and you started building from that. Oak Creek, another project, the same thing. We found the projects that we could get implemented quickly, easily, really with a lot of efficiency, and we got out there in front of the public, because the public sees these. They don't see the tunnel. They'll see a project that has salmon migrating up it now where they weren't migrating before. They'll see projects that handle the 100-year storm. And this is the July 22nd storm on Lincoln Creek last year. It was completed in 2002. We had a 500-year storm July 22nd last year, and except for just a couple of locations at a bridge, it handled that flow. Now that's not a pretty picture, but the water is within the banks. It's not throughout the area, not throughout the homes. After the meeting, we had people call and say it was a failure because we had some water coming out of the banks, and I said, well, what would it have been like without that project? Where would you have been then? And they go, well, we'd have had water everywhere. I said, well, okay. County grounds. This facility will be operational the first week of June, 3 weeks from now. It'll hold 315 million gallons of flood water. It's built on what used to be open county land. It took 1.5 years to negotiate the agreement to purchase the property from another government agency. You would have thought one would give it to the other so that the other could protect everyone. We had to pay another government agency $1.3 million for the property. It took us several years to excavate this, and we will turn on the connection to the waterway in June. This will significantly reduce flooding in the downtown Wauwatosa and Milwaukee area. Hart Park, this is downtown Wauwatosa. That waterway used to be full of debris. We've cleaned it out. We purchased 74 homes in this area. We moved them out of the floodplain. People cried at the first public meeting I went to on this project because they were so happy to get out of the floodplain. Their properties has been flooded so many times. The walls on their basements were buckling. They were ecstatic to get out of the floodplain. We paid for the homes as if they had never been flooded and as if they weren't in the floodplain, so they got a pretty good financial deal as well. All it takes is money, all of this stuff, you know. Unfortunately, we don't have that anymore. Hart Park flood management. So when we did Hart Park, we said we're not just going to pave it over with asphalt again. We're going to incorporate what we preach, which is the green infrastructure. So we have porous asphalt. It looks like that guy is doing something else, but he's actually pouring water on the asphalt, and it's soaking in. Porous concrete, natural waterway linings, bioremediation, curb cuts, all this stuff. It's almost like a learning center for green infrastructure. And this is a project that I hope to start this summer. We received, I don't know if anyone's on the Great Lakes system here, but the Great Lakes received funding from the federal government called the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. We received funding to remove that concrete lining. Now look at that concrete liner. The wall that you see along the edge is what we call a WPA wall. It was built in the 1920s, limestone. The storm sewer has eroded that wall away. Water's gotten underneath a concrete liner that we built in 1965. It's falling apart. Now we could step away and just say, okay, let it fail, but it's just going to cause more problems. So we went out and we received some federal financing. It's going to cost us about $3 million, I think, but we're about to start the construction to naturalize that waterway. We're going to try to maintain the WPA walls, and Miller Coors, the brewery in Milwaukee, is directly adjacent. They've been a great partner through this effort. So we're moving forward. We're trying to revitalize the waterways. We're trying to incorporate all these issues, but we can't do it alone. Now, you've heard the previous speakers talk about collaboration. We realized from the beginning that we need environmental groups to help us, we need universities to help us, we need the business community to help us. And we started working with the environmental groups, and we actually helped form a NGO called the Southeastern Wisconsin Watershed Trust, which is a group of the universities, the businesses, the NGOs, the district, the regulators, all working together. Parallel to that effort, we also have the Milwaukee Water Council, which is a business organization focused on fresh water. So there's a lot of energy starting to occur around water, and I'd like to think it's because of what the district started by making water more visible, making water more personal, making water something that people understood better, as opposed to something that they just flush things down the toilet with. So we've tried to make this start from the individual, work to the larger scale. We're starting to see businesses come around because, face it, there might be some profit on being able to sell something that's freshwater oriented, and that's what they're looking at. The NGOs, the environmental groups, have a say now at the table with how we spend money. They don't have the final say, but they've got an advisory voice. And so we'll go to them and ask them for their help on these things. So that's the district. We've got a long way to go, but it's great people like Dave that make that happen. So thank you very much.